Okay, well, I just did this entire video and then the audio didn't work. So I'm going to redo this, but it's going to be a little quicker. So I'm going to ask the guest teacher to, when I say pause, please pause the video, give them some time to complete the notes because they should all be participating, and then resume the video when they are ready. So thanks for your help. 2.1, we'll be starting this today. Here's some of the things we'll be working on. Analyzing the graphs of quadratic functions, meaning mainly going to focus on the x-intercepts and finding the vertex today. And every vertex naturally has a minimum or a maximum value. Okay, we'll wait on the applications till tomorrow or 2 days. Okay. All right, so this is just kind of a review sheet going over some transformations. We'll review these concepts later when we need to. For now, let's go ahead and move on to page, this is going to be page, I think, 8 and 9 is where you'll find this. Okay, so page 8 and 9. All right, now this is page 115 in your textbook if you need some follow-up. We're going to have two forms of these quadratic equations, okay? One called standard form, and then if it looks like it's more of like in a factored form or completed the square form, we're going to call that the vertex form, okay? So when it's in vertex form, we can easily find the vertex. It's going to be HK, all right? Okay, so the vertex is naturally always the turning point of the parabola, happens to be either the minimum y value or the maximum y value, okay? Axis of symmetry is that natural line that makes the parabola symmetric, cuts it in half into two equal halves, and every parabola, of course, is kind of a U-shaped curve. Careful when you say U. You know, some people draw their U's like this. It's not straight vertical, right? It's kind of like an open U because the domain's all real numbers. Continues in both directions, okay? So please pause the video and give them a chance to copy in these characteristics and definitions. Go ahead and do that now. All right, we're going to wait on examples 1, 2, and 3. We're going to skip those. I want to focus on examples 4 through 8 today. So turn the page and let's take a look at the directions on example 4. Okay. Directions say, write the vertex form of the quadratic function whose graph is a parabola with the given vertex and passes through the given point. Okay. You might want to do this as well. This is just the vertex form from the previous page. Why don't you write it down? Okay, so if we want to write the vertex form of the function, first thing we want to realize is that we have the vertex. -2 is h and k is 4. So those are going to go in these two spots right here. Okay, so I would write down this step. This is the success criteria. Step 1, plug the vertex into vertex form. Plug the vertex into vertex form. So it's going to look like this now. F of x equals a. We don't know what a is, so I'm just keeping that a. And here's where we put in the h. X minus a -2. So we're going to make that +2 since we're subtracting a negative. Squared and then plus k, so plus the 4. Okay, so the next step we have to do is find a. Write down this next step. To find the a value, we're going to plug in the given points, 0, 2, to figure out the a value, okay? Pause for a moment, let you write that down. Okay, so if this is x, goes here. I'm going to throw 0 in right here, and I'm going to throw in this y value of 2 right here for f of x, right? F of x can always be replaced as y, so the y value goes here. So now we have this. Write that down. All right, so now it's going to be pretty easy to solve this for a, and then we can finish the problem. Okay, so parentheses first, 0 plus 2 is obviously 2, and then we take the 2 and square it. So we got 4. So 4a plus 4 equals 2. Two-step equation now left. Subtract the 4, to get 4a equals negative 2 and divide by 4. Okay, so negative 2/4, which gives us an a value of negative 1/2. All right, so now that we have a, now we just put it all together. Okay, remember back in this step when we had the vertex form, we plugged in the vertex in the vertex form, we had this. We were just missing a. Well, now we have a. So I'm just going to take a now and plug it in right here, and I have my answer. Okay. All right, so just to recap the steps. Step 1, throw the vertex in the vertex form. We get to this step, and then we got to realize, all right, I need to find a. So I just throw in the solution point for x and y. Solve for a, and you get a. Okay, and then you can put it all together. All right, please pause the video and allow them to try example 5. Probably need about 2, maybe 3 minutes. Go ahead and try that now. Okay, here's your solution to example 5. All right, x minus a negative 1, so we make it plus 1, and then plus k. So this is going to be a minus 7. All right, so now we throw in this point for x and y right here, and then we start doing the math. 5 squared, so we get 25a, add 7, divide by 25. So negative 1/5. Okay, another time to pause and allow them to make any corrections for just a quick half minute. And then when you're done, let's turn the page and go on to example 6. Okay, once again, this is already done. My audio didn't work, so I'm just going to walk you through these steps. All right, I want to add something here. And when you do today's OTI, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. The directions just say find the x-intercepts. It doesn't say the vertex, but I'm requiring you to find the vertex for those 4 or 5 problems that are like this, okay? So go ahead and write that in there. Find the vertex. Verifying the results with the graphing utility, I'm going to make that optional. If you'll feel comfortable doing that, great. Check it. Okay, we'll work more on those skills. I'll review those skills later, but for now, we're focusing on doing this by hand and this by hand. Okay, so how do we find the vertex by hand? Right down here at the bottom of the notes, or 2/3 of the way down, this is how we find the vertex. Okay, unless it's in vertex form, which these ones aren't. If it's in vertex form, we can quickly find it. But if it's not, what we do, this is a way to find the x value, the opposite of b over 2a. Once you get x, this just says plug that value into the function to find y. Okay, so let me demonstrate. Let's start with the x-intercepts here. Okay. All right, just like in chapter 1, anytime we want to find the x-intercept, we should always replace y with 0. So I'm going to throw in 0 on the left side, and this just becomes an algebra 2 problem. Okay, this one is factorable. I can take an x out of both of these to get to this point. Now I use a 0 product law. I set both of these equal to 0. Subtract the 7. And I get 0 and negative 7. That's the x-intercepts. I don't mind if you write it like this, but remember if it's multiple choice and they're in coordinate form, you got to realize that these are 2 separate coordinates, right? 2 separate x-intercepts. So we'd say it's 0, 0, and then this one's going to be a negative 7, 0. Okay, remember the y value is 0 for both of these x-intercepts. Okay, so that's a lot of review. Let's go on to kind of the other concept of vertex. You always need to start by finding the x value. Okay, so here it is. The x value is given by doing the opposite of b over 2a. Now down below, the negative's out front like this, but it's usually easier just to put it with the numerator. Okay. All right, so b is right here. It's 7 over 2 times a, and a is 1. And then we just need to take half of 7, and we get 3.5, and it's negative. Okay, so that's the x value of the vertex. Basically, I've got negative 3.5, and now I need to go find this y value of the vertex. So it tells me to do that, we just plug in our x value into the function and evaluate. It's really just some calculator work, okay? So write this down. So f of x, or f using negative 3.5, is equal to negative 3.5 squared plus 7 times negative 3.5. Throw that in your calculator, and it produces negative 12 and a quarter. All right, so now we have our vertex. Vertex is at negative 3.5 and negative 12.25. Okay, I want you to try example 7. Go ahead and pause. Give them about 2 or 3 minutes again to solve for the x-intercepts and the vertex. Okay, here they are. X-intercepts. Okay, this one's factorable. Zero product law, we get 6 and negative 2. And here's the vertex work. Opposite of b over 2a, we get 2 for x. Plug it into your function. It gives us a negative 16. Okay, now 8 is the messiest. I want you to try this one to wrap this up. Your x-intercepts end up being decimals. You're going to have to use the quadratic formula for number 8s. We practiced that yesterday, so let's see how those skills are going. And then the vertex also ends up being a decimal. So go ahead, they probably need a full 3 or 4 minutes to try example 8. Go ahead and pause it now and let them try that. All right, here's the vertex. Careful you don't get 10. Some students will punch this in wrong and do this. 5 divided by 2 times 4, and they get 10. The 2a needs to be done first and clean that up. So if you made that mistake, either just do the 2 times 4 in your head and get 5/8 like that, but if you're going to the calculator, you need to punch it in this way so that you're sure the 8 is done first. Okay, so 0.625 in decimal form or 5/8 in fraction form. Okay, then we plug it in the 5/8, gives us this decimal, negative 4.6. 0.625 for x. Okay. Okay, now when going on to the x-intercepts, we can't factor this. There aren't factors of negative 12 that add up to negative 5. Okay, so we resort to the quad formula. All right, so getting a decimal answer for this, close your numerator and just do this. 5 plus the square root of 73, and then divide all of that by 8, just like that. Okay, so 1.7 is one of my x-intercepts. Now we got to do 5 minus the square root of 73. So that second enter brings my previous line up, and then I'm just going to type over that and put minus and get my other answer. Okay, so there we go. Set up the quad formula. Don't need to simplify this because we're going to have to plot these anyways, these x-intercepts. So since we're going to have to eventually plot them, it's nice to have decimal forms for these. Okay. All right, that's it for today. So when you do 51 through 55 today in the assignment, these are the directions I want you to follow. Does the directions on 51 say something about x-intercepts, but they didn't say anything about vertex. I want you to practice both these skills, okay? All right, have a good day. See you tomorrow.